Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at the revitalized mid-sword deck. This is probably one of the more common decks around, of course, not super optimized. This is still very early days, especially when I'm making this video, as of course I always try to be a few days ahead, so I'm making this on the day one still, which will probably have at least one more video on day one before moving into, of course, day two videos, which will be a little more interesting, and things will change, of course, as time goes on. My videos will probably be more meta related, closer to the end of that first week. That's where things kind of take a big shift. So, starting us off, one of the new cards added is Cybercannoneer, very good flood card. Summon 3 bodies for 4, basically spreading out your stats, which works really nicely, and is just straight up a solid card, especially going into, of course, any kind of mid to late game plays. And then we have Dauntless Commander, being an okay buff card, and synergizing pretty well. Not my favorite card. I might consider swapping that out for something else. The Glorious Core, or if you want to look at its animated form, definitely an okay card. I'd put this in this deck compared to what the original list I'd looked at was like, because I really wanted to give this card a solid go. During your turn, when allied follower evolves, gain +1 to all allied followers and banishes Amulet. Very easy to play, very easy to use an EVO on, and works wonderfully. Then we have, of course, Sky Saber, which is a pretty solid card as well. I would probably run 3 of this if I had 3 of it at the moment, but 2 is pretty adequate for testing it and giving it a solid go. Then, of course, the Apostle's a pretty key card, and pretty much everything else you've seen is pretty normal overall. So we're going to get right into this and check it out. So kicking this video off, we have a Dragon as our first matchup. That's not as big a surprise as you'd expect, really. Definitely pretty normal to come up against that. And we're starting off with a reasonable starting hand here with a couple of low drops in the Aiolon, which is not bad at all. Definitely what I'd rather have than nothing. And we got the 1-drop Rapier Master. Since I don't have anything else and I want to be a little aggressive going second, it's definitely solid play for a turn 1. Better than playing absolutely nothing, I feel, personally. Draconic Core. It's actually a card that I wouldn't mind testing. I do have a Dragon video that I've got to go up tomorrow, but it's definitely a very early stage Dragon list. I want to work on a more ramp orientated one, similar to the Prince decks that were floating around for quite a while. Probably adapting that more with the new cards. So Cybercannoneer flooding the board, giving us a chance to use our Evo, and pretty much going face for 4 damage. Plus setting up really well for Sky Commander Celia with only having to lose 1 card. Which gives us at least a chance to go for a decent amount of damage. Dragons and sorcery are of the same kin. And we did get the Gilded Blade, so that's an okay card. It's actually usable. I could have went for a good chunk of damage, decided against it this turn, just so I could, of course, aim for whatever I possibly could, and I wanted to buff this board a little bit. Stop it from being too easily cleared next turn. Because there are risks of 1-drop clears, pretty simply. So keeping them out of harm's way was definitely my aim. And this Minotaur really isn't a threat. Usurping Blade is actually going to kill us off very, very quickly. I can actually go for Sky if I want. Or we can also just play Rapier Master, one or the other. I did decide to go for Sky Saber. And the Rapier Evolve for 3, taking out 5 damage, and really not needing much to finish this game off. Dragonplate Warrior isn't a bad play, but it's definitely not going to help you long term, since it's not going to take us much to get past this. Though I probably could have went for a better thing than that, to be honest. But it still worked out more than enough, letting us just kind of dominate it. Overall, Sword has become a pretty solid deck. It just needs to be refined down a little more for me. I really just need to get the Sword deck to a point where I'm comfortable with it, I think. The tech cards that I probably run in it, and seeing how it's facing other matchups to see if I continue to play it. And then, this starting hand is pretty average, honestly. Usurping is good. Everything else was actually pretty bad for your starter. Quick Blader though is going to do wonders. we'll be able to use that to take that early advantage and protect it with the Spine Blade. I don't want to save Latham as I want to use his 8-drop effect mainly. This isn't as great though. But I can continue to deal at least a little bit of damage, forcing them to do their trading. It's usually the better way to do things anyway. Now I decided to go for Latham as I couldn't think of any other option to deal with this in a more efficient way. I really need to be the one to stay ahead on board in this match since I am going second. And I'm kind of glad I did, as I couldn't really come up with another way around this at this point. So I had to take at least the chance. This is going to allow us to go for a decent chunk of damage. 6 damage turn 4 is very respectable. Although that is a very good Draconic play. It's going to be very hard to entirely deal with that. At least Apostles should do the good job of dealing with it. Although we're pretty much guaranteed that the Apostle isn't going to really survive much next turn, since it's very wide open to attack. So we have the Despair Messenger. Using it to flood the board, get a couple of kills off here is going to be the best way I can kind of combat this board. At this point it's mainly just trading back and forward between the sword decks since we are running similar engines, similar enough that we're both running the mid swords with the new cards. Ironforged Hero, definitely not a bad one. I don't think I'm running it in this variation, but definitely something I would look at running in a more Machina based one. So either to go for a draw, luckily it's going to be honourable. So he's actually usable next turn and we can start going for a little bit more damage again. Of course we may not be able to use him next turn with a card like this coming down. Now Ironforged Hero is actually more impressive than I thought, giving rush to everything, so not something I like to leave up unless I have to, and unfortunately I kind of have to. But at least we're going to really limit their board options. Blazing Lion Admiral, see now that's something you don't see all the time, but it's definitely a very good play. And for me, all I can really do is go for Honourable Knight when I have the chance. Really, what else was I supposed to do here? It looks like they're going on the defensive, looking at this. No real surprise to go on the defensive here. The question is, will it be enough? So I did get the Sky Commander. I believe I'd actually found a way to go around this thanks to the 1-drop its attack power. So being able to actually attack with this, I can actually get 2 damage in here and set up for the perfect Celia Despair Messenger. It was a pretty creative lethal, if I don't say so myself, to come up with. We actually would have ended up with a little bit extra damage, so 1 over, which is nice. It was very solid. I do have to say, coming up with that lethal at the end there was definitely something I had to think about for a solid, almost full 20 to 30 seconds, just planning out, will I have enough to finish this game? Because if I didn't, odds were I wasn't going to be able to find enough to really swing it again. So really getting that there was very important. Overall though, this deck is extremely solid. These Glorious Cores are a lot of fun when you get them to go off. Dauntless Commander I'm still very on the fence about, but Cyber Cannoneer is a wonderful addition to these sort of decks, and honestly it allows you to just flood the board where you wouldn't normally be able to, and that's great. Especially with things like Sky Saber when you really need stuff like this to flood in a mid deck, and it's great when it can. So if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. You will find the deck list in the description below. As always, until next time, see ya.